Hello guys, welcome back to Echelon's Hub, and today I'm going to talk about Pro Cycling Manager 2020, its AI and gameplay which has just came out. Firstly, I'll ask that if you like this video, please consider subscribing. It would be a major help to the goal that I have of making live streams here on YouTube, and I would appreciate all of your efforts. So let's get on it. Pro Cycling Manager as came out this week on the 4th of June. It's the Pro Cycling Manager 2020 edition, and it had big expectations. I personally have them, at least. There seemed to be a newly built morale system into the career mode. The AI seemed more aggressive. There were time gaps said to be fixed. These were the main changes around this new game, and as soon as it came out, obviously I've got it. If you don't know, I really love Pro Cycling Manager. I've played it since 2012 edition. I've noticed that some years the evolution really wasn't meaningful, but in others, like for example 18, it was really meaningful, the change that there was in the AI and in the energy system. In 2019 there wasn't a big difference. I think it was more in the Pro Cyclist mode that the effort was made, but this year there was a change of focus. The change of focus was on career mode, which is something that I love because career mode is where I spend most of my time. But in this video I'm not going to talk about career mode because I haven't yet played career mode. I have seen its new features, I have seen how they work, but I haven't yet started a career myself. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, testing how it goes throughout the weeks, the months, the years, etc. So in this video I'm just gonna focus on the AI and the gameplay, which is something that everyone can do as soon as they get the game and in a wide variety of situations. So at this moment I haven't played a whole lot of Pro Cycling Manager yet, but I have played decently enough to notice differences that there may be in there, and I can say there is a big change. There is a big change. It's not huge, but in some fields it's really, you can really feel it. As a main example, I've done a Grand Tour. The purpose of the videos that were coming this week were actually of a Grand Tour that I was going to showcase in here. I was going to record the whole tour I was doing with RKS Samsic, but unfortunately I couldn't. My computer couldn't handle the definitions of screen recording. It's not an issue though. Sometimes it doesn't work, so we just gotta move on from it. That's what I've done. I've looked for other ways of making a video still Pro Cycling Manager related, as I really love Pro Cycling Manager and I think it's worth my attention and it's content that I want to make. So I've done that tour anyhow. I've done the race, I just couldn't record it. I've finished it at this point. I've done the whole tour. First of all, I want to say that if you like Pro Cycling Manager content, I've got two YouTubers that I particularly like following. One is Tyros, a French YouTuber, and the other is Tim Soski. I really advise you to look at those two channels if you like Pro Cycling Manager content. If you're seeing this, probably you already do, but this is my personal opinion. I love those two, and I'll leave a link down below to both those channels. So in my case, obviously I couldn't showcase, obviously it wouldn't be the same quality, that wouldn't even be a question. However, I played the tour and I've seen some good AI. I played with RKS Samsic in extreme difficulty, and long story short, I finished with Warren Barguil in 2nd place and Nairo Quintana in 3rd place, with a very small gap behind Geraint Thomas. We could say that that is a big change. Warren Barguil in 2nd, you may wonder how the hell would that happen. Racing a tour became something much more strategical, much more well thought. Throughout the 21 days, there were, well, I can say in Nairo Quintana's example, he had days ranging from -4 to +3. That included flat stages, included mountain stages. It completely changed the dynamics of my actions. Some mountain days I had a +2, +3, and even if those mountain days weren't really hard or it wouldn't match my strategy, I felt myself that I had to attack on those days. I needed to make the most out of that race day form, because as soon as you have well, a +2, as soon as that happens, you would get a -3 the next day, and that happened regularly. Quintana had a -2 day in Nice. In the Col de la Loz stage, he had a -3, and in the Queen stage, the final one to La Roche-sur-Foron, if I'm not mistaken, he had another -2 or -3. Those 3 stages, well, not the Nice one, but the last 2 mountain stages were extremely important. I tried to save myself throughout the whole race so I could attack those 2 days, because I know that in those last 2 mountain days is where the big differences can be made. I couldn't make any differences because the race day form wouldn't allow it. Now, this was against my strategy, but it's good that it's against my strategy. Although I didn't win the Tour, likely because of that, I have no issue with it, and I like it because it presents a further challenge. It presents a further sense that of unexpected. You know, in some days you have true outsiders be there with the best, and in some days you had riders that finished on the top 5 completely cracking. So it's very realistic how it feels. There are, in 21 days, there are a lot of bad days. If they can lose minutes, but then they can bounce back in the other stages because they truly have the quality. And I felt this a lot. I felt like Geraint Thomas won the Tour. He didn't have any bad day that I could seize. And on my side, Nairo Quintana had several bad days where I couldn't take advantage of the quality I found with him. And Warren Barguil, he had an amount of days that were majorly really good, and that had him in the yellow jersey for most of the race. He won stage 2 to Nice, and then it was on stage 9. I don't remember where it finished, but it was where in the Col de Marie Blanc I attacked with Quintana. Thomas went after him and Thomas caught him in the summit. Thomas wouldn't collaborate with Quintana. Barguil was on a great day and he came from behind. He was following Lopez. He came from behind, and then when he got to the front he attacked and he went. Thomas didn't work, no one worked. And on that day Barguil won over 2 minutes on Thomas and on all the GC contenders pretty much. And he got in yellow, and my mission at the time was still, you know, okay, co-leadership. Barguil is doing great, but Quintana is still the leader, obviously. But it turned out that Barguil had some more good days. He had some bad days as well in there, but Barguil was riding really strong, and it was worth it to try to save Barguil. On the Col de la Loz stage, Quintana was doing very bad, and Barguil still had a minute and a half over Thomas. I worked for Barguil. Barguil kept yellow. In the final stage, however, is the negative side on my AI experience. Throughout the whole race, pretty much, the AI was very aggressive, very good. I loved it. Some days the breakaways in the first week still were very strong and caused the peloton to split on very early on. Very high pace throughout the whole day. That felt really good, that felt real. The only complaint really is there, well, in the mountains. The only complaint in the mountains was there in the final mountain stage there were no attacks. Thomas didn't attack. Lopez, who at the time was 4th, didn't attack. It was a very soft race. I didn't understand why at that point. That was a minor, I won't say glitch, it was a minor detail. I've loved the time gaps. They started appearing throughout the whole race. I've noticed big differences in the time gaps. On some stages going up to 3 seconds of difference between riders, which is almost nothing and obviously wouldn't be considered in other games. So it's a really good improvement that I love. However, on the stage before the time trial, stage 19, Barguil was in the lead with around a minute of gap, and I found myself deeply disappointed as I tried a surprise attack. The whole team pretty much with 30 kilometers to go. I've split the peloton and I got to the finish in a group of like 15 riders with both Barguil and Quintana in there, with a substantial gap over the peloton, and there was no gap attributed. I felt deeply disappointed at that. I thought that making a move like this would be very worth it. If I remember well, it was around 40 seconds that I would win in that move. But no gaps were attributed. That was a bit of a heartbreak, I will admit. Posteriorly, I simulated the final time trial and the final stage to Paris. Those were not on my command though. Barguil got off the time trial still with the yellow jersey, but in simulating the final stage to Paris, there was a split Thomas and the group of around 10 or 15 riders, including Quintana, imagine this, they won about 40 seconds to the peloton, which itself was split. So it was really interesting how that happened. Thomas won the Tour because of that, but I have gotten my point. It was an experience. I have gotten my point. The Grand Tour AI works really well. The race day condition throughout the whole race means a lot, and you really have to seize the days where you're good and be defensive in the days that you're not. You have to adjust your strategy to an everyday basis in a much better way than you should, because the race day form spectrum is much bigger, and even riders in great form can really have bad days, and that makes it more intriguing. You have to work harder for what you want. And regarding the AI, it was more aggressive. I liked it, and I've got no complaint. The AI is good. The AI is better. I like it more aggressive. It's not ridiculously aggressive, but it's aggressive. It's good. Time gaps, there was a detail in there that I didn't like, but throughout the whole tour, it was good. Gaps are good. The race day form is a great change. The race day form then also translates to the classics. I've particularly done 2 races. I've done an Amstel Gold race. I won it with Alaphilippe. It was an easy win, kind of to say, but I also usually play with difficulty higher than extreme. I edit it because I find it easy. I won it an Amstel Gold race, but usually when I found that there weren't a lot of splits with this new parkour, and I didn't get to see the offensive AI in it, but that is because I was offensive myself. I was the one who blew up the race, so there weren't big conclusions withdrawn from there. It needs more testing to see how it goes in the hills. However, I'm very positive there were many splits behind, which wouldn't regularly happen, so I'm very positive that there are good changes. And finally, I have played a Paris-Roubaix as a big improvement. So I know that you probably seen other YouTubers review on it, but in my opinion, adding to them, of course, is also that Paris-Roubaix is doing a whole lot better. In my example, the race finished with a group of 7 riders, but it wasn't at all an easy race. It wasn't at all conservative. It was a hard race. I was racing with Jumbo-Visma, and it was a very attacked race, like from 70 or 80 kilometers out. There were attacks from big riders. I had a big move with around 40 kilometers. I was playing with Jumbo. I had obviously Wout van Aert in there, and it was with Philippe Gilbert and Yves Lampaert. I didn't work on that move much because I know that there was still a lot. The energy was really low at the time, and there was a really small chasing group. They both attacked one at a time. I waited for the chasing group and then bridged across in the final set of cobblestone sectors, and then it was Van Aert was the strongest sprinter in the group, except for Christophe, who was there, and Christophe and Terpstra were collaborating in the small group. It was 7 riders, and although Christophe was the strongest sprinter, he attacked around 7 kilometers from the finish, and he won solo pretty much. You know, it was a finish between 7 riders because Christophe was caught in those final meters, but he won solo. And Christophe isn't a particularly strong rider in there. I think he has 78 cobblestones, and he was clearly the strongest rider on the day, or at least the one with better tactics combined with a good race day condition. That really shows the big improvement in there. Christophe isn't a top rider, but his race day form must have been through the roof, and he won it. The race, the AI was aggressive. It didn't feel like a race where if I don't do anything, it's just going to be a sprint finish like as normal. It wasn't here. The race was attacked from very early on, and there were several riders coming into the finish because there was collaboration. There was a lot of collaboration between every group, and there wasn't anyone that stood out between the big riders. The one that won was a smaller rider. And I've seen from other YouTubers, Tim Sosky particularly, if I'm not mistaken, he won. He didn't win, but he had a solo move win in his, and there's a big change in there. You know, you don't see that often now in Paris-Roubaix in the gameplay, but I think that in Pro Cycling Manager 2020 now, it can really get a lot better with that. And I've done the generalized races, like the main races, of course. I haven't gone through the calendar, the array of races that are, you know, all the World Tour, all the Pro Continental races. There's a lot to explore. I would love to approach this in a new video. I would particularly love to talk about career mode because it's where I spend most of my time, and I haven't yet begun. But I'm confident that something good is gonna come from it. The expectations are high, this is what I can say. If you've liked this video, please consider subscribing. I would love to have your support in this, and I'll see you in the next one.